Hello, this is Nikki Hibbets. I'm the creator of The Ruffled Purse, which you can find at theruffledpurse.com. And there it is my goal to support and empower and inspire you to discover or maybe rediscover the joy of sewing. And what I'd like to do today is to support you in your understanding of how to square up fabric. Squaring up fabric is important because when you're cutting your fabric, if you do not have your lengthwise grains and your crosswise grains at a 90-degree angle to each other, then it can cause puckering or distortion or rippling in your finished product. So it's important to make sure that your fabric is square before you start to cut it. So you might be thinking, well, how do I know if my fabric is square? Well, when you're looking at your fabric piece, you should have your salvages, which is the lengthwise grain of the fabric. And then you should have your raw edges, which are the crosswise grains. And in order to make sure they're at 90 degrees to each other, one thing you can do, one method, is to line up the raw edges and then line up the salvages. When you do that, if you see any type of ripple, like you're seeing right now in your fabric, that means that your fabric is not square. So you're going to need to do something to it before you cut it. So that's one method, raw edges and salvages lined up. The other way is just to line up those raw edges and then give it a good shake. And then look at your salvages. Are your salvages lined up? And if you look at this fabric right here, they start out lined up here, but as we get further down, they are not lined up, which tells me that this fabric is not square. So no worries, because most pieces of fabric are not square when you get them. So it's easy to fix and to find that perfect 90-degree angle lineup. Basically what you want to do, there's multiple methods, but this is the method that I use all the time and that I really like. So I'm basically getting my salvages between my fingers. I'm putting my thumb and my middle finger on the outside, my index finger between, and then I've got the same thing over here. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to move either the front panel back and forth or the back one, doesn't matter which one, and I'm just going to keep moving it until I no longer see that pull or that pucker in the fabric. And it's going to happen on both the front and the back. So it looks here that it looks like it is pretty good. And so I'm going to give it a shake. And I'm just double checking, are my salvages still lined up? And it's looking pretty good. And I can even see over here on this side, the raw edges aren't lined up, which tells me I'm probably pretty square. So now that I have it squared up, I'm getting ready to put it on my cutting table. Now that the salvages are lined up and adjusted so that there's no more ripples across the fabric, I'm going to flip it out along my cutting table. And the fold can be away from me or it can be close to me. It doesn't matter. And when I lay it out, I'm basically just going to put the salvages along one of the horizontal lines. Actually, let me move it up just a little bit so that you can see it a little bit better. So I can tell that this fabric is going to be square. So I've got it lined up against one of the lines. Now I could line up the side with the salvages. I could line up the side with the fold along a horizontal line. Both of them are going to have those grain lines at a 90-degree angle. Now, if you can just lightly rub your hands over it, if there's any type of ripples or wrinkles, you can get those out. Now, if we look down at the end with the raw edge, we see that they are not lined up with each other, but we knew that because the fabric is not square. So now I've got my fabric laid out. If I was doing a quilting project, then I would cut off the end so that I was working with a straight edge. But since I'm not, I want to show you how I use the line on a pattern piece. So this is a pair of pant pattern piece. It's got the line in the middle that needs to be lined up with the grain line. And I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and see if it looks pretty straight. Then I'm actually going to make sure it's straight and that it is parallel to the grain lines. So I'm basically going to use an even number. So I've got 10 right here, and then I'm just going to move my pattern piece down so that my end of my tape measure is at the line on the pattern piece, and it's 10 inches here. So I could actually measure this from this side to this salvage, or I could actually measure from this side to the fold. But if this is going to be a difference of 10 inches, then the other side also needs to be 10 inches. And that's how I know that it is going to be cut on the grain line and will not, that these pants then will not pucker or ripple or be distorted in any way. So I've got 10 inches here. My pattern piece is smooth, and then I'll go ahead and pin it there. So then I know that this pattern piece is laying exactly straight on the grain line. It is squared up with the fabric. I hope this video helps you better understand why it's important to square up fabric and how you do it. Just to summarize, squaring up fabric means that you're going to make sure that the lengthwise grains of the fabric are at a 90-degree angle to the crosswise grains of the fabric before you cut it. This is going to ensure that your finished projects will not have any distortions or pulling or puckering. Again, my name is Nikki Hibbets. I'm the creator of The Ruffled Purse, which you can find at theruffledpurse.com. And there it is my goal to support and empower and inspire you to discover or maybe rediscover the joy of sewing. If you found this video through a search, then there is a full blog post that goes along with how to square up fabric, and the link to that post is in the comments. If you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching.